Music is the gift I give to you. No Phantom of the Opera fans. Fine. I hate all of you. Welcome, everybody, to Random Encounter, the RPG fan podcast. We are coming to you on the eve of Dragon Quest IX in America. Hopefully some people care. I know I do. You know, I don't hate all JRPGs. I really don't.
I do. That remains to be seen.
I do not care.
I'm your host, Robert Steinman, Pale Robbie on the boards. Joining me today, we have...
My name's Derek. I'm a news contributor for the site.
Name on the boards?
Name is Embryon.
Embryon. Very, very ethereal. Next up, we have...
Dennis, I'm turn-based dude in the boards, and I'm the semi-senior editor. And yes, I heard that from John in the podcast.
That's why we got rid of John for this episode. No more senior editors. Next up, we have...
My name is Steven. I'm a preview contributor to the site. And I'm tailless on the boards.
There we go. And last but certainly not least...
I'm Zach. I'm one of the news contributing editors, and I'm super flat on the boards.
Excellent. We have a lot to talk about today during the rundown, lots of games that we've been playing, and then a brief discussion on difficulty in games. And finally, we're going to be talking some news, and of course, the big news of the week is Dragon Age 2. Woo! So, without further ado, I'm going to back up, and I'm going to let the new guy on the show, Derek, tell us what he's been playing. Derek, do it.
All right, so I haven't been RPGing it up that much lately, but I did just finish Trauma Team for the Wii, which was excellent and had all that delicious anime RPG melodrama going on. But besides that, I haven't been playing too many RPGs. I've been waiting for Dragon Quest IX, like a lot of you guys. I have been playing a little bit of Lunar for the PSP. I got it when it came out, but I didn't actually play it all that much. And I have been noticing that, as you guys talked about it the other week, the charm level is just not there. The graphics are improved, pretty animations, new voice acting, but like something about it just doesn't capture the magic of the old Lunar, so kind of bummed about that.
To an extent, it's like I think the charm is still there. It's probably not as strong, but it's probably maybe just nostalgia talk. Cause I think XIII did an overall good job on it. Localization.
Yeah, they definitely did. I guess it's just the rose-tinted glasses there, but because I also just picked up Lunar 2. I won a copy of it on eBay, and I was playing through that a little bit since I've actually beat Lunar 1, and I guess I like the old style better, but they definitely did a good job.
Well, now, yeah. real quick, you say that they updated the voice acting. Did they update, like, the anime cutscenes and the overall, like, overworld graphics? Did everything get an overhaul?
Well, the cutscenes are the same. Obviously, they put the new voice acting in there, but the overworld map is, prettied up. All the towns are prettied up and different. Everything's kind of been condensed, is what it seems like. I mean, maybe it's just because I haven't played the original in so long, but all of the towns seem tiny. Yeah.
They shortened the dungeons by a lot. So on the bright side, the annoying dungeons are a lot easier to get it over with. The bad side, the more interesting dungeons are quickly get it over it.
Yeah, and it's got those kind of massive load times, so it's like the less screens I have to go through, the better.
Yeah.
And you're playing this on PSP, or?
Yeah, it's on the PSP.
Okay. It looks like the PSP is getting a nice little RPG renaissance right now.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah,
Definitely.
And but otherwise, I like the game pretty well. They did add the limit break kind of things, which are sort of overpowered, but I guess later on they might not be so bad. But like one of the characters in the beginning has a limit break that heals full HP and MP for the whole party, so it's just kind of like, all right, win button.
Wow.
Well, you also have Omni Slash in there too, right? Like.
Right. No, he's got like the main guy, Alex, has I forget what it's called. I think it's called Tempest Blade or something like that. But it's just like an all enemy attack that pretty much wipes any regular battle out, and it only takes a little bit to build up. So they definitely made it easier, but the original release was ultra super hard. So I guess they're trying to compensate, but maybe they went too far.
Oh, good.
From one extreme to another.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like they've been trying to redo that game for years and change it every time.
Yeah.
It seems it's like, why not just make a new Lunar? Like why not do something new?
I
It costs
completely
money.
agree.
Costs money.
Agreed.
They don't have money.
And
I
the thing is,
remember-
they keep remaking Lunar 1. What about Lunar 2? That game was also good.
Yeah, they need to do that.
Give it the
Yeah.
Superstar Harmony treatment.
Lunar 2 has one of the best final battle songs ever.
Yes, agreed.
Excellent. Well, I think we always want to see old series, come forward, and we want to see new games. So maybe, just give us a new Lunar game and stop doing these updates. I guess it gets a little trying. I'm already tired of all the rebooting in video games right now.
Or if you
Yeah,
have to
that'd
update,
be nice.
just update 2, then move on to something new. And hopefully not Dragon Song.
Yeah.
Yeah, let's not even talk about that.
Moving on. Derek, do you have anything else to add?
Something that we're going to segue into later on is it's amusing that all of us recently picked up copies of Parasite Eve. So I plan on playing that pretty soon. But no, other than that, I'm just chilling, waiting for Dragon Quest IX.
Well, why don't we go straight into the Parasite Eve discussion, since you brought it up and you screwed up all of our pre-show planning. So now we can... No,
It's my job doing everything as the new guy.
I just got... Sorry about that. Some slight technical difficulties. Gotta love Skype. So getting back to Parasite Eve, we all kind of picked up Parasite Eve in the past few months, and some of us are playing it for the first time. So Zach, why don't you lead us into a little discussion on Parasite Eve?
Yeah. Well, I actually just it turns out that one of my close friends is a huge video game nerd, much larger nerd than I am, and
Shocking.
Had two copies, or a copy of Parasite Eve and a copy of Parasite Eve 2 lying around his house that I relieved him of, and so I've been playing through Parasite Eve 1 just today and yesterday. I just got up. It's a game in 6 days, 6 chapters, and I've just got to the start of chapter 5, which I think is where stuff starts getting a little bit, the plot progression becomes a lot bigger. But
Starts getting real.
yeah, but I think it's interesting, especially considering what we talked about. Maybe it was like last week or 2 weeks ago, but the thought of a horror RPG. I don't know if anyone remembers that. It's an interesting take. I think that from what I understand, I haven't played Parasite Eve 2 yet. The Parasite Eve 2 is a little bit more survival horror, while Parasite Eve 1 is a bit more action adventure. And
Yeah.
but
I didn't like to, honestly.
Yeah, I never played it.
Not looking forward to the tank controls, but I mean, so far one has been treating me fairly well. It's very linear, which is one that I'm not quite decided where I stand on that, because it's certainly it's the story's been interesting, and for those of you listening who haven't played the game or don't know what it's about, basically in 1997 there's this mitochondria. There's a lot of biological stuff, but basically there's this evil force threatening to take over New York City. So modern but basic fantasy plot points. Anyways, it's the action. The combat is very different. It's that's what I like the most about it, is how basically you have your active time bar, and it almost reminds me of Resonance of Fate a little. Just
It actually
1989.
So I played the game a couple of years ago, not when it was new, but like midway through the PS2's life cycle, and I actually really enjoyed it. It reminded me a lot of Vagrant's story, kind of like if somebody took Vagrant's story and combined it with, I guess, Resident Evil. It's hard for me to explain. It's been so long since I played it.
That's actually exactly how I would describe it.
Yeah,
too.
that's the game.
But I thought it was kind of like it almost tried to be like a Hollywood style movie, but with like a very Japanese touch. And I think the dichotomy between the villain Eve and Ayabre was one of the best parts of the game, because that really was what pushed the narrative. And I think for when it came out, there wasn't really anything else like it. And to be honest, there really isn't a whole lot like it now.
Yeah.
Because it was a fusion of 10 different kinds of games.
Yeah, I think Parasite Eve for me, it's been kind of hard. I've been trying to play it. Girlfriend picked it up for me at Christmas time, and it was a big deal to get it. And I'm about where Zach said he was. I'm at chapter 5, and I haven't played it in like 3 or 4 months. I think what I really struggle with is I'm so into the narrative. I'm really into what's going on. I kind of like the metaphysical storyline and lots of mysteries here and there. But the game is so antiquated by today's standards that it's really hard to play it. Like, I hate the fact that, I miss a key card because I wasn't in the exact right pixel position to pick it up on a desk.
I really hate the pre-rendered backgrounds. I forgot how much that really kills a game for me.
Well, it kills the game if the objects don't stand out.
Yeah.
So, like, none of the objects sparkle or anything, so you don't realize that you're missing stuff. Also, the game does a really bad job of camera's perspective changes. So, especially in the New York Zoo, I was getting constantly confused where I was. And it was like, I think that even though we've talked before, I really don't want to see any more reboots. I think that game is in desperate need of a reboot, like in desperate need of a remake, because it's such a great idea. That first game is so cool and so unique. It just needs to kind of be brought forward a little bit with today's technology.
And I mean, luckily,
if Third Birthday goes well, then probably we could see this remake.
Yeah, that would be great. They could even do it like over PSN or something if they wanted to.
Yeah, I want to see a PSN release. Now, Zach, you were trying to say something?
Oh, yeah, no, I was just going to say, with Third Birthday coming up, I'm interested to see where they're going because, just having started played the game yesterday, I went and looked up some of the E3 coverage on Third Birthday, and it seems, like they dropped, for one big thing is they dropped Parasite Eve from the title.
Yeah, they don't own the license to it anymore.
Oh, is that what it was? Because apparently...
Yeah, they don't have the license because Parasite Eve was a novel and a film in Japan.
Right.
And they don't have, this is like my total nerd out moment on Japanese horror, but they don't own the right to it anymore, but they still have the right to the character Ayabrea.
Right.
So they call it the Third Birthday, but we all know it's Parasite Eve 3.
Yeah. Okay. Because what I read was that there are apparently some differences in the tone of the game and the way that they're taking it, and obviously it's much more of an action. Like the first game does have a lot of action elements, the real-time battle system among other things. But it seems to be a much more third-person shootery sort of action vibe that I'm picking up. But I'm really interested to see what they do with Third Birthday, especially once I get through 1 and 2. But that's what I've been playing, as well as, I mean, I don't know if we want to talk about anything else with Parasite Eve. I'm really enjoying it, but
actually I'm sorry if we don't mind. I was actually going to say I'm also interested in the Third Birthday plot wise because again, it's been so long since I played, but I played the first one and then the second one right after it because I bought them both one summer. And the second one seemed like it kind of retconned some of the story from the first one. I could be wrong. I didn't. It's been so long, but I'm wondering where they're going with the story because it got very confusing in the second one, for me at least.
I mean, I suppose we'll see what happens once I play through the second one, see where I stand on that. But I mean, overall, it's been pretty solid so far. Very definitely antiquated, and it's kind of a bummer because like going back and playing some other games, like Final Fantasy, like 7 came out the year before it. I think 9 came out a couple years after. Those are a lot easier to get back into. But
yeah, it hasn't aged very well. I would say that. So, and Zach, you also had another game to talk about, but I'm afraid it's going to get me into trouble again.
Yeah. I mean, I'll keep this one short. I would like to, just basically recant what I said last week. It still is linear. Linear is all hell. But
and what are you talking about?
Final Fantasy XIII.
There we go.
Yep, that's the game. It still is a very linear experience, and I've it's gotten to the point where I realize that if there's a little vestige off of like the main line that I'm supposed to run down that has some enemies, there's probably going to be a chest there too. That's still kind of a bummer, but going between that and Parasite Eve, I'm getting used to it. But I have started to really enjoy the complexities of the battle system. I kind of like how you're almost meta gaming it. You're really determining how you fight, not by the actions that you choose, but what paradigms that you use and how you organize those. And I've spent a lot of time actually figuring out, what strategies fit which situations, what classes would be best to have, in those 6 paradigms.
How far did you get?
Right now, I think in somewhere in chapter 4 or 5 in the mountain somewhere.
I think that's about where I tapped out.
It gets increasingly involving, yeah, sure, the battles remain simplistic and straightforward, but it gets harder, and you're going to be preparing more, especially in the later chapters where, you need to know what you're doing, otherwise you're going to get floored quickly.
Yeah,
Definitely.
The Odin fight did that to me.
I don't know if I got like that, but I'm really looking forward to, getting to, like chapter 11 where everything, spreads out and you have your whole party, and that once I get there, I have a feeling that I'm really going to love it. And like right now I'm actually enjoying it a whole lot. So, I
enjoy it for what it is, not what it could be. That's the only thing, really.
That's a good way of looking at it.
I think that is the best way to look at it.
I think for me what it was I think if I had been able to enjoy the battle system, I would have gotten in and I would have enjoyed Final Fantasy XIII for what it is. But the battle system just feels so loose, and I don't feel like I'm in control, and all I'm seeing are numbers flying everywhere, that it's just like it's like sensory overload to me, and I don't feel in direct control. It's the same argument I had with, like, I couldn't finish Persona 3 because I didn't like not being in direct control of my characters. I didn't play Dragon Age with all the tactics menus determined because I want to be in control of everybody's actions. So 13, like, it feels like the difference between driving an automatic car and a manual car, and I would rather have my RPG play more like a manual car.
So you not like FF12 either, then?
See, that's the thing. FF12, I felt like there was more preparation. There was more like I was going in, and again, that's part of the computer programmer in me. Like, I love working in C++. So I felt like the whole battle system was just if-then statements. And so I went in and I got it to work perfectly. The problem was that then in 12, I was immediately bored because I made a god party within 10 hours.
See, I agree.
I made a party I couldn't lose. So Final Fantasy 13, I'll get you in one sec, Steve. But Final Fantasy 13, like, it's such a slippery control that I have. Like when I switch my guys to the buffing type characters, they're not buffing exactly the way I want them to. I'm like, no, I wanted you to cast Shell first, not barrier first, and then I end up dying. And
so
that's
the interesting thing that you mentioned about the buffing, because right now I'm at a part where you have Zaz in your party as like the controllable character in battle, and when I switch to the synergist role, which is useful because he's, at least right now, he buffs attack and magic attack and stuff like that. It's really kind of frustrating because I'm so used to being able to hit auto battle and rely on have the gameplay be manage my paradigms and adjust for that. But when you switch to synergist and you have to manually manage the buffs, I feel like I'm I'm stilted. It really loses that flow. And so there are
it's the exact same problem I had. Exact same problem.
I think and the only difference I think between us is that I enjoy the rest of it, when I'm not playing a synergist as the main character. And that'll go away eventually once once at least I get out of this section and once I hit chapter 11 where everything opens up again. But
Steve, you were trying to get in there, and then I want to get Dennis in real quick. So Steve, you were trying to say something and I cut you off.
Yeah, actually, I was going to agree with 12. 12 for me, I enjoyed it when I played it, but in hindsight, I don't really care for it. I feel like it had a great setup for like a story and had characters that could have been absolutely awesome, and a few of them were great. And the combat, the gambits were cool, but I felt like by halfway through the game, everything I had to do to my party was just tedious. Like, oh god, I don't want to cast Shell, I don't want to cast Bubble, I have to cast Bravery and Faith, and I made gambits to do all of that, which was convenient. But I felt like I was telling the game to play itself because the things it wanted me to do weren't any fun. And for me, 13, I actually, I don't ever use the auto battle. I enjoy picking the commands, even if, it's basically the same thing. But I do when you say switching to Synergist, it was really jarring for me. I think the Synergist is the buffer. I can't remember because I played it in Japanese, but I know. I remember the chapter you're talking about, and what frustrated me is that you can't target multiple people in one chain of commands. For example, if you're a healer, you have to throw all of your heal spells at one person or only use half your bar, which later on the game is moving so fast that you don't have time to only heal twice and then reset all your commands. You're going to get toasted.
And that is where you kind of try to quick cancel things, you know. Like, you don't have to throw them all. It's like, you could just do it. You could just set it up, do it once, then stop, then you'll just leave it off as it is.
I think if Final Fantasy XIII had a pause button like Dragon Age, I think it would have been. I would have loved it, where I could pause and just like collect my thoughts for a second. Instead, like if I tried to play the game like Steve's saying and just pick each one of my attacks, I feel like I'm so much slower and I'm not being as efficient. And the game is hard, and we're going to talk about difficulty later. I really like the fact that it's a hard Final Fantasy. We haven't had that in years. But if you do anything wrong, this game just stomps you. And I feel like if I don't use my Synergist correctly, or like on the Odin fight, which seems to be the first part where anybody has any trouble with the game, is the Odin fight. I felt like Hope wouldn't heal. Instead of like doing the proper healing method, he would do something stupid, even though I have him set to medic. He wouldn't do something correctly, and then I'd lose. Or like I maybe just missed changing my paradigm by like a half second, and I ended up losing the whole fight because of it. And I threw my hands up, and I was like, look, I don't feel like I'm in control. If I'm not in control, I don't want to play.
Yeah, I mean it's fair. That's definitely, I can see where you're coming from now that I've played, put more time into it, and I'm banking on it, pushing past those faults. But
yeah. I mean, I guess we should move on because otherwise we're going to sit here and talk about 13 all day.
Yeah, let's not do that again.
Let's not do that again. I promise. Yep. So now, if you're done, Zach, I guess we'll move on to Dennis, because we have not heard from Dennis in a while, and he has a game that I'm very interested to learn more about.
Okay, first of all, before I get to it, I just want to say, I've been actually playing a lot, since the last time we talked. Basically, I got a PSP 3000, even though I have a PSP 1000, since last month, right? So I was kind of in the PSP mood, so I was just been messing with a lot of PSP games, both old and new. For starters, was playing the Depth Heaven games like Riviera and Yu-Gi-Oh! Union. I've beaten Riviera, and I actually enjoyed the game, even though the gameplay is kind of meh, but I thought the characters and story were charming, whereas with Yu-Gi-Oh! Union, that's the complete opposite. The gameplay is a lot better, but I don't care about the plot or characters. And then some other stuff like, I've also been just messing with the Wii a bit. Like, I've recently picked up Monster Hunter 3 for fun, and I've just been delving on that. And I suck at that game, so let's move on.
How's the experience? Go ahead.
I was just saying I've been wanting to play that because from what I've seen, it kind of gives me like the PSO vibe for some reason.
Yeah,
but again, I can't find anybody to play with. I guess I could do it online, but
yeah, we could team up. That's no problem. So there. What?
How does it work with the Wii's online functionality? That seems to be the big complaint. Like, I know most of my friends, if they're playing Monster Hunter Tri, they're literally like wearing headsets and talking through their laptop rather than screwing around with the Wii interface. Like, how's that treating you?
Actually, surprisingly well. It's like,
good.
No real friend codes. That's a start. And the hubs are kind of small, but still there. It's like getting to the text box isn't really that difficult. Just press the minus button twice. You could just type whatever. I don't bother using the keyboards, but at least with the parties I've been to, we seem to do fine. Not communicating. We just follow someone, and we just usually do things pretty well. It's been pretty chill. Okay.
Excellent.
Otherwise, let's see what else. All right, more PSP goodness, right? Been doing a second playthrough of Half Minute Hero. Awesome game. I happened to jump into this since January, so it's one of those 2009 games I jumped in the following year. And let's see, I also been playing a bit of Borderlands PC with my friend. Again, we both suck at it. And one of the other big things is, okay, how many fell victim to the Steam sale in July?
Oh,
God.
They have my credit card information. I can't do anything about it.
I looked at my bill today.
Hundreds of games over 50% off. Who couldn't resist?
Oh, that was painful. That was
In
painful.
my case, the biggest thing I got was the Telltale Everything Pack, which is basically 20 graphic adventure games, well, mostly episodic ones, for just $50 instead of 100.
Oh,
So
God.
that is just when, like, the first season of Strong Bad, 3 seasons of Sam and Max, episodes 1 through 5 of Monkey Island, some Wallace and Gromit, and I think something else. Oh, right, the Bone or something like that. Bone.
And
Yeah,
you
yeah.
get Telltale Poker.
Ooh.
Yeah, no.
All right.
Whatever.
The most exciting of that pack.
Dennis, I got to stop you because I feel like you're holding back the goodness right now, and I hate you because you have it a day early. We all want to hear about Dragon Quest, so come on,
Yes.
get there.
At the time of this recording, because at this point this episode's going to be released, everyone's probably got the game, but at this point, Dragon Quest IX actually came out in New York the day before it originally officially supposed to come. So I went to a Nintendo launch event earlier this afternoon and picked up myself Dragon Quest IX. So yeah,
Which makes us hate you.
Yeah, I will
Yes.
now come up to
Until
New York
tomorrow.
and get you.
Oh,
So
you
tell
all
us
guys-
about your experience.
Well, the thing is, I just want to first get into this story of how I heard about the event and what's something that's been going on, if you guys don't mind.
Sure.
Good.
Basically, I found out about the event last week when I decided to visit the Nintendo World Store in Rockefeller. Then when the employees told me, hey, we're holding this Dragon Quest IX event next week. And I asked him what time. He wasn't 100% sure, but said around 9-ish, all right? So I decided, since I work at 10 o'clock on Saturdays, I decided to quickly go to Rockefeller around 9 o'clock earlier today. So when I went, it turns out the games were actually not in the store yet. And then when I asked about it, the guy gave me this pamphlet saying, oh, we're starting at 1 o'clock. And then I found out something very interesting. First, I thought it was going to be like the Muramasa event I attended last September, where you just pick up the game, get free swag, that's it, right?
Oh man, you didn't know about Hori being there.
Yes, I didn't. I only found out about it until this morning, so it's like, damn it. And they were saying, oh, the line's already starting, but the line was actually kind of small around 9 o'clock. So basically it's limited to the first 30 people signing it. And yeah, I actually could have made it because the line was that small. But there was one problem: work.
Should have taken off, man. Should have taken off.
Yeah, it's like I had to be responsible, so I had to go and all that stuff. Because I could easily get away with it. On Saturdays the supervisors are not here. It's mostly just me and one other person. But the thing is, that other person, he's a great guy and all. I like him. He's really cool. But he tends to come late most of the time.
Ah.
So I feel like, and I realized I didn't get his number because I had to change the SIM cards and everything, so I didn't get his number to contact. So I thought he was going to be late, so I had to walk back to the work and things like that. Turns out he came right on time, and even minutes before me.
So you passed up a legendary autograph for nothing?
Yes. Yeah, curse your responsibilities. Curse you. Yeah, I was being
All right.
and missed out on a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity.
So now, how's the game so far? I'm going to try to bring you back from, crying about missing out on Yuji Horii. So how's the game so far?
So far, so good. It's just been a slow start. I only delve about 2 to 3 hours, and I'm just taking my sweet time, no rush. And things are slowly building up. It's like there's a bit of story segments and stuff. It's like, I won't get into any details in the story because you guys are going to all play tomorrow anyhow, assumingly. So basically,
Yep.
gameplay-wise, it just slowly introduces things. With when you level up, you just don't have any abilities or anything. It's just you and an NPC killing stuff, right? And as you level up around level 5, that's when it introduces the skill system where you could spend on skill points for different weapons or different aspects and all that. But I don't fully understand when you get the skill points. For some reason, okay, level 5 and 6, I get the points. Level 7, I don't. Yet level 8, I do. It's like, okay.
Well, maybe it's just like an every other level sort of thing. I mean, I don't know how it works, but
I haven't figured out the pattern fully yet. Let's see.
Okay.
Another interesting thing is there's quite a bit of customization I noticed already. It's like every piece of equipment you wear is visible.
Oh, I love it when games do that. It's like one of my most favorite things when you're equipping your characters.
And
That's so much fun.
when I heard there's
Except in MMOs where you end up wearing like a combination of bright pink and black because it has the best stats.
in this Dragon Quest, you can create your main character the way you see it fit.
Can you make him look like Vegeta?
I think so.
Pretty close, I would imagine.
Yeah. I just silly me. I jumped into playing as the girl because I can, so I didn't check the guys' hairstyles. But probably it's the artist we're talking about.
Yeah, exactly.
So have you gotten to experience much of the story yet?
And well, like I said, it was just a build-up. Then things were all going nice and still. But then, as just for the sake of plot moving along, bad things happen, and then you're stuck, and you're just trying to figure things out, but have no idea where to begin and stuff. So you're just kind of going with the flow and things. You basically, what? You basically play as this angel or celestian, right? Doing good deeds just to build up your this observatory on above, right? And things going well. Well, like I said, bad things happen, and you're no longer an angel for some reason. Your character, whether it's a he or she, just needs to figure out what the heck is going on, but does good deeds along the way while trying to progress, trying to solve the mysteries. But like I said, there's not that much plot going on. It's like no details just yet. It's still in the introductory phase.
Yeah, I mean, it definitely seems. Go ahead. Sorry.
Like I said, it just slow started like at the 3-hour mark or maybe 2. I didn't keep tabs exactly. Basically, that's when it started introducing the quest system, where you could just randomly talk to people and do quests. And I got to the second city where it just introduces this inn that the characters you meet is supposed to wind up inheriting. And based on how empty it is, it seems like you're going to be building up this inn. That's my assumption. How? I don't really know. And of course, I know about some things that come later on, like there's the class system and stuff, 6 basic, 6 advanced. So this should be interesting. I don't know how you get them or how it's, how it is exactly, but we'll see.
Excellent. Well, I mean, we're all sitting here, super excited for Dragon Quest, and I think on the next show we'll definitely have a lot more to talk about it because we'll all have a chance to have
impressions are pretty positive so far. I guess the only weird thing is probably the technical side of it. For example, the graphics are kind of weird in a sense. For example, the important characters are 3D models, fully animated and stuff. The less important characters are in 2D sprites. It's interesting.
That's different.
Yeah, it's and the quality on the sprites is not as good as the 3D models, even though everything is kind of zoomed out. Makes you see. And music-wise, I liked Sugiyama's music overall. 8 was excellent. But so far with 9, nothing that strongly yet, even though I do admit I really like the battle theme. That is a good one.
Well, I think, in the interest of time, we should probably move on a little bit. Not trying to cut you off, Dennis, but I think for the listeners, we're going to have a lot more to talk about with Dragon Quest IX in the next episode and probably episodes after that when we all have a chance to play it. So
I just went up them this time.
Yeah, rabble. So if Dennis is all done, I think we'll move on to Steven with what you have been playing, sir.
Okay, well, we talked about it a little bit last week. I picked up Persona 3 Portable, and I am really enjoying it. I never beat the original. I tried over and over again, and it was never that I didn't like it. It's just that something else had come along, and I would start playing that instead. But
I know how it is all too well.
So I think I made it to December in that game like 100 times and never finished it.
That's not where I tapped out.
And it's not because I didn't enjoy it, but the PSP one, we talked about it last week a little bit. I absolutely love that they've removed the running around outside of Tartarus, the dungeon, because I feel like at that point the running was really just grinding, and I think the menu-based thing suits it really well. And there's actually an option to turn on little icons. We had mentioned that sometimes it was hard to tell who to talk to or where to go. If you press the R button, it actually shows you everything on the screen that you can look at. And I didn't know things... I didn't know where things were too terribly well because it's been so long since I played it, but I've had very few problems. And I think aside from not having the epilogue chapter, the answer, I think it for me, is the best version of the game I've played, because I've played all the versions in the past. I love being able to control the whole party. I think that adds a ton to the game. And I can't remember if the original had different difficulty settings, but this one does.
Yeah, well, the Fest does, but not up to Maniac.
I gotcha. Okay, because I usually play, again, this might be good for our discussion later, but I usually play games on the hardest difficulty I can. And Maniac mode is a lot of fun, but I think it will probably be interesting to talk about, because it's not actually that hard. I think it's just artificial limitations they impose on you that make things a little more frustrating, but not more difficult.
I usually play things on medium, not too easy, not too hard. Just enjoy it, but not get myself crazy or bored.
Yeah, that's normally what I do too.
And let me guess, are you playing as the girl?
I am not. I am playing as the guy. I never beat it with him, and I think he looks cool. So I went with him, and the battle theme for the girl is different, and it's a good song, but the guy's battle theme, I had offered before the show to sing Mass Destruction, but I will not. I will not inflict that upon anybody. But I love that song.
Dear God, no.
No,
maybe we'll close the episode with that. But dear God,
no. I don't. I want to be allowed to come back.
Oh boy.
But I've also actually been playing. An English patch just came out for it, Tales of Innocence on the DS. I nearly beat the game in Japanese. Again, it was just another situation where something else came out and I moved on. But it's actually, I've played all 3 of the DS Tales games. The first one, Tales of the Tempest, which was really bad. And then Tales of Hearts, which was pretty good. I didn't like it as much as Innocence. But playing it now with the English patch, I think, is great, because the translation's really well done. And it's one of the better Tales games, I think, because the cast is really likable. And it's sort of a fusion of, if anyone's played them, the Tales of Destiny remake, which had a lot of like air combat, and then Tales of the Abyss's free run system in 3D, and it has multiplayer, which is also great. I've been playing it with my roommate, and it's a lot of fun.
Cool. Anybody have any questions about Tales?
Is it Talesy?
It is very Talesy.
How many Tales games do we have these days? It feels like there's one every other day.
There are a lot of them.
Okay, I got a question. Is there any character like Yuri or similar?
Not really.
Oh, what a shame.
Personality-wise, you mean?
Yeah.
No, not really. Yuri is... I liked Yuri a lot. His personality was very cool, and
yeah,
he's
one of the best characters ever.
So now, is that all you've been playing, Steven, or you got anything else you want to tell us? It sounded like a short segment for you. I don't want to cut you off.
That's okay. Actually, Dennis had mentioned he'd been playing the Department Heaven games. I've also been playing Hex's Force, which I think is by them.
Yeah, it's by Sting, but it's not part of that series. It's kind of
okay.
Same company, but not the...
But, yeah, so Hex's Force is very cool. It's kind of old school, turn-based RPG, but it has that twist that I think... I can't remember when I played Riviera, but all your items are basically your skills. You don't learn abilities. Your different items that you equip, they're called Ragnafacts and, like, Spirit Artifacts. And it keeps you moving a lot. You use a lot of different abilities, and I think that keeps it really fresh. And so far, the characters in the story seem really cool. I'm playing as Leon, the guy.
Excellent.
Yeah, I played through that too. I beat Leon's story, or Levant, either way. Everybody shortens it to Leon. I guess it's Levant von Schweitz.
Actually, I was going to ask you, because I remember you had said you were playing it. Why do they call him Leon? Because I don't remember them explaining to me where that nickname came from.
I think it's because Levant starts with L-E, and then Von is V-O-N, so they just combine those two and make it Leon.
Okay. Because, Leon sounds cool.
It's kind of like how they call Phoenix Nick.
Yes. I guess. I don't know. But, yeah, I played through that, too, and I really enjoyed it, but my only gripe was kind of that, like, the sub-characters didn't really have a lot of backstory for how they got their Ragnafacts. Because it was like, especially Irene, it was like, how did you get this magic sword? And she's like, well, I just followed this light, and then I found it at the end.
Yeah, it's such an important part of the story. These characters have to gather their Ragnafacts, and we need them, and they're important, and Levant getting his was a big deal. But everybody else already had theirs.
Exactly. I thought they were going to expand on it more, especially because they do kind of fill in a little bit of backstory as you go, but I was just like, okay, that's it? All right. Good stuff, anyway.
Oh, definitely. Well, now, Steven, are you all done?
Yeah.
All right. So I guess I will bring it on home, and in the interest of making sure we don't go too long, we'll probably have to shorten our discussion on difficulty. But final thoughts on Mass Effect 2, which I had the opportunity to finish last weekend, and my review should be going up here in the next day or so. I think I cooled a little bit on the game. I still very much enjoyed it, and I'm comfortable saying I gave the game a 90 overall. Definitely a very good game, much improved from a gameplay perspective. The game plays very well, and it's throwing new and interesting things at you and making sure that you're constantly interested. But I do think the narrative suffers a little bit because it is going for a very similar second act in a 3-act play sort of thing, similar to The Matrix Reloaded or the second Pirates movie. And you're spending so much time doing the loyalty missions for your crew rather than doing the main narrative mission that it kind of feels like it's all set up for the third game. And so the second game doesn't have a very strong overall narrative. I think the individual stories for the characters are very, very good and full of good narrative, but it's feels very much like little tiny narrative slices. And then you're going to have the third game, which is hopefully going to be the culmination of all your choices in the first game and everything that you could have decided on. But I would have rather they went for more of a Dark Knight approach, where I feel like the Dark Knight sets up for the third Batman movie, but it's its own self-contained story. Mass Effect 2 is very much to be continued. Like, we're going to cut this game off, and I think, Zach, you haven't finished it yet.
Not
so
yet.
I don't want to. Yeah, I'm not going to spoil it for you, but it really is like a giant to be continued, which I felt kind of took away from the game. Now, did anybody else have a chance to finish Mass Effect 2? Am I the only one who feels that way?
I actually did finish it. Oh, I'm sorry. You can go ahead, Dennis.
No, not much. I was just going to contribute to the whole episodic or trilogy thing, basically. It's like, I didn't play the game, but I've been playing, seems to be more RPGs, that's just in trilogies or episodes lately, at least from my perspective. And it just seems like a lot of it just seems to my only big complaints is just it doesn't seem to be well standalone. It just sets up for the next one, especially the first episodes, or it just feels like it just only introduces but doesn't really keep it that interesting or entertaining enough. It just says like, yeah, all the good stuff comes in next episode, things like that. If you kind of know what I mean. Sorry I ramble there.
No, it makes sense. Now, Steve, what were you trying to say?
Actually, I have to disagree a little bit because in 2, I felt like it did have its own self-contained story, what with the collectors and all that, because you knew there was that overarching thing with the Reapers going on, and I don't want to spoil it for anyone who hasn't beaten anything, but I feel like they said, okay, this thing in the background's still going on, what you're doing is related to the Reapers, but we have to solve this issue with the collectors now, and I felt like the final mission in the game was, from a narrative standpoint, and for me personally, from a gameplay standpoint, incredibly satisfying. I felt like it wrapped it up awesomely.
I think the final mission is what I wanted the rest of the game to be. And I really was into the final mission, and you're making huge decisions that can really impact your crew. Again, I'm being careful to keep Zach in the dark right now. So it definitely – it's good from that perspective. But if you think about it, the actual narrative of Mass Effect, the overall story, only takes place over a course of like 4 or 5 missions that are each like an hour long. So there really isn't that much narrative there. The source of all the game's story is coming from these loyalty missions, which are fine, but they do feel they feel like they have less of an impact. Like, I'm learning about these characters, which is cool, but the overall story is very, very simple, and it's definitely feeling like a setup for the third game. Now, again, I'm coming from a perspective of not finishing the first game, so I had to go online and read up about all the choices you could make and the impact that they have on the second game. But it didn't feel like there was any like grand sweeping thing that was going to happen. I used the argument on the boards the other day that I want to see the type of choice in a video game that affects in the same game that I'm playing. And I felt like Dragon Age does that to an extent where your choices have an impact, particularly on the final battle. But Mass Effect 2, it kind of feels like everything is being saved. Everything's being stored up. And BioWare, I'm worried that they may crumble under the fact that there are so many choices going into the third game that there might be too much, or they might not give everything its own due. Like, we're all scared to death that they're going to have like a giant text screen at the end of the game, like the end of Dragon Age, to explain the choices that you made. So I think that Mass Effect 2 is still a great game, and I really liked it, but I do kind of feel like the narrative wasn't as good as what I had been expecting. I felt like the loyalty missions were good. It was good to learn about your characters, but the actual story there was very, very thin and very, very short, and really didn't help that much.
I actually would agree with that. I think it definitely did focus on the loyalty missions, which were good. But I will agree. I think it did have its own self-contained story, but it was fairly sparse. It was basically, okay, here's the collectors. Okay, go get the collectors.
Yeah, go kill them.
And
or do something.
You understood why, but I really do agree. And see, on the other hand, I enjoyed this, that a lot of the decisions you're making, it's like, okay, well, here's your decision. All right, wait for Mass Effect 3 and see what happens. Like, did you cheat on your lover from the first game? Did you do this in one of the loyalty missions? Did you do that in another one? And, they say this will have big effects later on. And you know full well that it means Mass Effect 3 and not something later on in that game.
Right, but now we have to hope that it happens in Mass Effect 3 because, we all walked out of Matrix Reloaded going, okay, that was kind of interesting. Let's see if it resolves into something in the third movie. And it turned into a giant Dragon Ball Z fight at the end. Which was
the only good part of the movie.
Well, yeah, I like my Dragon Ball Z, but it's just the narrative didn't make any sense.
Not at all.
So like, I'm a little worried. I'm definitely looking forward to Mass Effect 3. I have cautious optimism, but for the amount of emphasis that BioWare puts on choice, I feel like we didn't really see any of the ramifications of the choices for Mass Effect 1, and we haven't seen any of them for Mass Effect 2. So Mass Effect 3 has the potential to, blow my socks off with that, but I am a little, But that's enough about Mass Effect. We've talked about that way too much over the past 2 weeks. So the only other game that I was really playing was Castlevania Order of Ecclesia.
And I want to say something. So, how are you liking the DS?
I am very much loving my DS. I appreciate you pushing me to buy it, Dennis. I'm very much appreciating that.
Yeah, I win. And one other thing, earlier today during this whole Dragon Quest event, my friend was hanging out with me, and I got her to get a DS. It's like, yeah, do it already. Do it. You
are like the crack dealer of DSs. Hey, come on, kid. First hit's free.
He's our secret Nintendo PR spy.
God.
Yeah. And I managed to score a multiplayer partner because I made my friend get Dragon Quest IX along with the DSi So, yeah.
I need to convince people to do that, too. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, I got an XL, and I'm definitely liking it. And so I picked up Order of Ecclesia, and I'm so conflicted on the difficulty because, I love the fact that the castle, the environments, oh, God, I feel like I just gave a spoiler. But, eventually you go to Dracula's castle. It is a Castlevania game at this point if you don't realize that happens.
Spoiler, Dracula's the last boss.
Yeah, oh, my God. It's not Shaft. It's not Shaft, unfortunately.
Sigma's the final box of Mega Man X.
No! But, I'm really conflicted because I love the fact that the regular enemies are so dangerous and they can kill you very easily. So you have to it's not like Alucard running through Symphony of the Night and you can basically get hit by the toughest enemy for 1 damage and you have 1,000 hit points. So I like that. But then the bosses are so frustrating because each boss will kill you in 4 or 5 hits. And the first time you fight him, it's you learning the pattern. So you're basically going to die on every boss at least once. And that to me is just lazy. You should never have to die to figure out how to beat an enemy. For as hard as Demon Souls was, I never had to die on a boss. I could back up. Go ahead.
I was just going to say, it's going back to NES game design though. That lighthouse crab, he gets you. But all that kind of stuff was trial and error, but I guess that has a certain appeal to it as well.
It has an appeal, but it proves so frustrating because it's now you have to play a perfect game because if you do anything wrong, you're already you have the potential to get yourself killed very easily because the enemies are so large that Shinoa could get knocked into them and then just lose all of her health before you can even get away. But then also if the boss has multiple stages, you go and you fight the boss. In the first stage, you die the first time. And it's okay, well, now I know the pattern. You maybe die 2 or 3 more times, and then you got the pattern down solid, and you beat that stage. Then, that frickin' shadow boss in Dracula's castle.
Agreed.
Oh, my God.
That is the worst boss ever.
He's the hardest boss in the game. Agreed.
I almost snapped my DS, in half. I was just because then you have to fight him the second time. You have to fight the second stage of the boss with brand new attacks, and he's just going to kill you again. So it took me like 20 times to beat this guy, and I'm just sitting there, and I'm like, difficulty is so hard to get right in video games, and I know developers must struggle with it over and over again, but like, you should never have to die. Games like Demon's Souls have completely spoiled me with death, because death opens up new gameplay opportunities in Demon's Souls. So like, you die, now you get to go do new things that you couldn't do when you were alive. That's awesome. So this old school game design of just like smashing your head against the wall to beat the boss, it's so unappealing to me. Like when I was 12, when I was 13, I was all about that. Like, oh man, I got to beat Quickman. Quickman was like the hardest enemy ever in a video game. I had to beat him in Quickman too.
It's his stage.
Yeah, those damn lasers. Yeah, no, that's true.
I don't like lasers.
Yeah, but like it holds no appeal for me anymore to like wear it like a medal that I beat this enemy. That doesn't appeal to me. I'm 25 now. I play games because I enjoy them and because I find it hopefully relaxing. So Order of Ecclesia, like I was so happy that the regular game was difficult because it felt very like tough but fair, but then the bosses just completely screwed that game up. So I wanted to ask you guys, like, real quick, because we got to get to our Dragon Age 2 discussion, but just some thoughts on difficulty in game. What do you guys think?
Actually, I was at to say I'm around the same age as you, and at this point I play to relax as well, but my thing is I find that I can't enjoy myself as much if the game is too easy. That's why I couldn't even stomach, it's not an RPG, but that Prince of Persia game from 2 years ago, I was like, this game is ridiculous. It's absolutely impossible to fail. And that's usually why I play on the hardest difficulty, just because I love to be challenged, and I think I loved that in Ecclesia. I love that I felt like I really had to struggle to win at every opportunity.
But did it feel fair? That's my issue. There's a difference between difficult and fair. And like, for example, Ninja Gaiden, not fair. Ninja Gaiden is never fair. It's not fair to be hit from enemies off screen, and that happens in Ecclesia sometimes. Like that Frankenstein boss, he would get me. He would charge up an attack off screen, and then as soon as I saw him, he just hits me for 200 damage. And
I think that in itself is irritating, being hit off the screen. But excuse me, I felt like it was fair, and again, Demon's Souls is a great example because I love that game, and I think the difficulty in that game is absolutely perfect. And I think in Ecclesia, I got a very similar vibe, which is you died because you got hit here. But I suppose I can understand what you mean when you say, you have to die to win. You have to get hit by the move before you can figure out how to not get hit by it. But I feel like that was intentional on their part. I feel like they were trying to go back to that old school style of Castlevania, but still have that Symphony of the Night-ish RPG progression. And for me, I actually really enjoyed it. And yeah. I will admit, the Shadow boss, I kind of cheated because I just used a ton of potions.
Well, let's get somebody else. Let's get more people in here. What do you guys think? Am I being, am I no longer hardcore because I don't love hard games?
Well, I have a little thing about difficulty that I wanted to mention. So mine's more like a personal OCD kind of thing. So I'm the type of guy that when I play an RPG, I gotta get every chest. I gotta talk to every NPC. I gotta get it all, every side quest. I don't really care about achievements so much, but I got to do it all. So
I agree.
Kind of fall in the middle. Like you want to try to complete everything, but not absolutely. Depends on the achievements and stuff like that.
Yeah. So for me, it's like an artificial difficulty spike, because particularly I got the Mega Man Zero collection for DS, and they rate you on your performance at the end of every mission, and it's cumulative. So it's like I have to be perfect. If I get an A on mission 1, I got to keep that A. And so for me, that's like an artificial difficulty raiser, because I can't deal with lowering my score.
Oh my God. Like I agree completely. That I was playing them recently as well, and if I don't get a perfect ranking, I have to redo the mission because I've utterly failed.
I know. It's like I beat the boss, but I didn't get an A, so do over.
Yeah, I just think difficulty is one of those things that, like, when I'm playing a game and you have like the rapid difficulty spikes or something, like it makes me want to snap something. And we all want to play, very, very well. We all want to really enjoy ourselves, but it's like you want to have a sense of, I beat the game and everything's good, but just sometimes it can get really, really frustrating. That's
On
my
to Dragon Age.
Do we have anything else to talk about when it comes to difficulty in games?
Yes, play Demon Souls. It's amazing.
Well, mind if I
Done.
take my chair on it? Because, yeah, I got some stuff to say.
Definitely go for it, dude.
Okay, first, when it comes to Order of Ecclesia, I kind of agree yet disagree. Yeah, the bosses are cheap and tough, but they didn't annoy me. There was only 2 cases. One of them happens to be the Shadow Boss. Agreed. That was just a nightmare. And whereas most of the other bosses, they were tough, but I felt a little satisfied from beating them, and they never annoyed me to an extent. And with the enemy crab in the lighthouse, I actually just couldn't figure out how to finish him off for a while. It's like, yeah, what to do? He's not dying. It's like, then, oh, okay. So,
that's the worst thing when I'm playing a game is like when there's some little trick to beating the boss and I don't know the trick. That's when I get like just. And there were moments like that in Demon Souls. Don't get me wrong. I think Demon Souls actually starts out ridiculously hard, but then it kind of calms down and it starts playing fair. But I do think like the first 2 areas and the first 2 boss fights are really like just brutal. And then the game starts playing fair, if that makes sense. So
yeah, I kind of know what you mean. Sorry, go on.
I kind of have to. I thought that was just because as you played, you figured out how the game wanted you to play it.
Yeah, that could definitely be. But like, if you try to beat like the Tower Knight, or not the Tower Knight, the Penetrator. If you try to play the Penetrator by yourself, everybody stop. If you try to fight the Penetrator by yourself, it's like almost impossible. It's so hard if you're playing a melee character. But if you either get Bjorn to help you, or if you get another player or 2, you can totally just destroy him. So
okay, so moving on. Basically, the thing with difficulty is it just seems to be broad on what makes it difficult. It just seems like difficult is for the wrong reasons most of the time. For various reasons. For example, in my cases, the one I'm just recalling about this topic, like there was times when some games where it was quite easy for a while, or it was fairly moderate difficulty. Then it has a sharp difficulty curve, just like a complete slope, not just a slope, but just vertically sharp. One case was with Star Ocean 3. That's like I was doing fine in the game for a while. It was a little bit easy, but was enjoying it. I thought I got the gist of the game, Some of the boss fights were a little epic. Maybe 1 or 2 was a little tough, but was getting into it. Then suddenly the enemies just got insanely hard, and then that's when it just feels like it got to be a mess for me. It's like, where did this difficulty spike come from? It just came out of nowhere, and I was just underprepared for it. And I couldn't finish the game because of it, because it got to the point where even random encounters were life and death situations, and it just kind of killed it for me, even though I was like 3 dungeons away. Yeah.
It blindsided me just like the story 180, but that's another discussion entirely.
We'll get there. I promise.
For the record,
I gotta kill this conversation, guys.
For the record, I'm actually okay with the twist, but that's another topic altogether. Then there was cases like Wild Arms 3 where it was just an absolute joke, like for like the first 3 acts of the game, and then it just suddenly got a lot harder, but for the wrong reasons. Is that like Steven remind me actually off topic, not off topic, basically just before the podcast. The enemies just simply took longer to fight. They dish out more damage. Everything just felt a lot more dragged on. It was tedious. It was just annoying. It's like, yeah, let's make the battles a lot longer for difficulty purposes, and that was quite annoying.
Yep, definitely. I mean, I definitely think that difficulty in games it's really hard, and I think it's something we should maybe talk about again down the road when we got more time, because right now
I guess one more quick thing.
Dennis! I'm gonna get yelled at for the time.
You will not be silenced.
Okay, we'll just do a subtopic next time.
Okay. I'm sorry, Dennis. It's just we're already running late, and we got one major news story to talk about this week. Let's give us 10 minutes to talk about it. So, Zach, introduce.
All right. News for the week: Dragon Age 2 coming March 2011.
Woohoo!
Yay! So
God.
basically, I'll go over what we know for sure right now, and then there's a couple of rumors that have been popping up about the upcoming Game Informer article that they have like this 10-page exclusive on the story. But basically, the sequel to obviously it's actually RPG fans RPG of the Year for 2009. It's the three big changes that they're advertising are a new visual style and improved graphics, a more quote unquote dynamic and responsive combat system, which I'll kind of get to the rumors, and this new protagonist. So unlike Dragon Age Origins,
Hudson Hawk, right? It's Hudson Hawk.
Well, Hawk is the last name, but basically unlike Dragon Age Origins, where like the first one where you had your origin stories, thus Origins. You got the option to pick what race you were, what class. You had, I think there were 6 origin stories that you could choose from. In this one, there's one protagonist, kind of like Shepard in Mass Effect. In Dragon Age 2, it's Hawk, Hawke. The E is for awesome, but he's.
So they can refer to him like Shepard.
Yeah, basically. So it's Hawk, Sten, Hawk. Anyways, if anyone gets the Shepard Rex, but yeah. So the game is going to follow a 10-year story arc that follows Hawk as he goes from penniless refugee of the Blight, and I'm pretty sure it's the 5th Blight, which is the one that was covered in Dragon Age Origins. To the quote-unquote single most important character in the world of Dragon Age. And I think the interesting things that have been brought up about this story is that unlike Mass Effect 2, where it's where you go around just collecting allies, and unlike a lot of BioWare's other games where you go to 3 different areas and resolve problems in those 3 areas and then tackle a final area, it seems they're taking on an interesting narrative structure. And so basically it's not about killing an ancient evil or killing another archdemon or whatever, but the story focuses on Hawk. As I said, it's a 10-year timeline, and the course of the narrative, and I don't know to what degree it is determined, but to some degree the course of the narrative is determined by the choices you make, who you talk to, who you keep in your party, like what you do, and it really the goal of this story is to figure out who this character is, like who is he in the world and how did he get there, which I don't know what you guys think about how that sounds, but I think it seems at least a little bit more unorthodox, and I'm really
it's really hard, and I've been holding myself back this episode, but I guess here's where I'm going to start getting robbed. I'm going to come in here and I'm going to tear it up. I think that we can't really glean that much from the fact that almost all we have is a brief press release from BioWare saying that we're going to have this new dynamic battle system and we have this new character that's totally interesting, and then we're all waiting for the Game Informer article. There's tons of rumors out there right now. People are talking about the possibility of a dialogue wheel like Mass Effect being put in the game, the idea that Hawk is going to be totally voiced whether you play him male or female. One of the rumors that came out, and Zach talked about potential rumors, was that the PC combat is apparently mostly the same compared to the PC version of Dragon Age Origins. It's the console versions that are going to get completely reworked. Again, all of this is rumor and speculation right now.
There's actually, if you check on Game Informer right now, they have a 5 facts about Hawk thing. So it is confirmed
he's going to be voiced.
He is going to be voiced, and the narrative structure is kind of a little less standard. And he's a human. So, but yeah, the combat stuff is still rumor until the Game Informer article comes out in full.
Right, and we're all sitting here with bated breath for that. We want to find out as much information as we can. Now,
Place your bets.
well, to me, what it sounds like they're doing is they're saying, look, it is kind of awkward to play Dragon Age and have your character where you're directing the dialogue, but nobody's reacting to you outside of these dialogue choices that you make. Your character doesn't make so much as a peep. Mostly the story's being told by the characters around you. It sounds like now they're going to do more of a Mass Effect type game where your main character is there and you're determining the dialogue for your main character and it's fully voiced and that sort of thing. I would say with the idea that Hawk is going to be completely voiced, it doesn't make sense for your dialogue option to be exactly what he's going to say. So you are going to be directing your character along dialogue choices similar to Alpha Protocol or Mass Effect. You know, you say that you want to make a passive response, you want to make an aggressive response. That's my speculation. I'm okay with this decision of having a voiced character, because I do think that Mass Effect tells even though I don't like the story as much as Dragon Age, I think the way it's told and the direction that it's told is much, much better than Dragon Age. Dragon Age feels a little last generation when it tries to tell its story, even though I think the story's great. Now, what I'm worried about is that I love the fact that Dragon Age, the choices that you were making always felt gray. That you had choices that had tinges of virtue or evil, but overall the game felt very gray. I don't want to see anything like a Paragon or Renegade system in Dragon Age 2. That's my only serious fear. I'm okay with everything that they're doing right now, the idea of enhancing storytelling. I don't want a Paragon or Renegade system anywhere near that game. I think that's actually the worst thing about Mass Effect. It feels so binary and so silly to always be looking for either the top right response or bottom right response or blue response or red response. Like, it's such a binary thing that I don't want to see that with Hawk. I want Hawk to be. Go ahead.
So if they do this conversation wheel, and I'm judging by the rumors that it's obviously still rumor right now, but assuming they do this wheel and the details that people have started leaking are that like in addition to just the one word summary of your dialogue option, there's also going to be a symbol to like say that your response is aggressive or sarcastic. I'm hoping that if this is what happens, they'll kind of take the Alpha Protocol approach where it's not like clearly good, like it's not good, bad, or indifferent. It's in Alpha Protocol it's professional, suave, or aggressive. And so if they expand that to like say 6 options, so you have aggressive, sarcastic, nice, friendly, silly,
that's
whatever.
what I want.
If they maintain that the options that you had with Dragon Age Origins dialogue, just put it in a wheel and have it voiced, I'm all for that. I know people are going to have slightly some people are getting upset that origin stories are gone, and bummer, but it is what it is right now.
Yeah, as long as your choices still matter and you're still crafting the world, I'm okay with that. I want to be the reason I can play Dragon Age over and over again. And again, I wrote the PC review for Dragon Age. I also gave that a 90. I think it's a great game, but it does have flaws. Even though Dragon Age is a flawed game, it's still one of the most replayable games because there's so many different choices that you can make over the course of the game, and you see them all played out in that narrative. So as long as Dragon Age 2 maintains that, I'm on board. I'm all happy. I also like the even though we've only seen artwork, the artwork is already striking to me in a very positive way. I thought that Dragon Age, one of the worst things about Dragon Age was the way it looked. I didn't like the world. It looked very like World of Warcraft, but still kind of like Tim Burton World of Warcraft. It just looked a little – I didn't like it. The first artwork that we've seen out of Dragon Age 2, it kind of has like an ethereal watercolor, almost a little twinge of Amano, of Yoshitaka Amano is in there. And I like that. I think that Dragon Age would do well to have an art style that's maybe a little bit more differentiating itself from the norm. So now I don't know how you guys feel about that, but
the rumor there, just to inform everyone, is that that cutscenes, not all cutscenes, but like certain cutscenes will be animated, like cell shaded sort of animated. And then the rest of the game is going to sport a more bolstered graphical style similar to the first. So I mean that's a lot more speculative than dialogue wheels or anything.
But now is that coming from the fact that they are making a Dragon Age anime? If I remember correctly, something like that was announced at E3. Somebody cut this out if this doesn't true. But I thought there was talk about a Dragon Age cartoon at E3. And so maybe that's signals getting crossed there. I'm almost sure on that. Please check me on that,
all right,
Zach.
I will.
Cut this out if it's BS. But I'm almost sure that there was talk about a Dragon Age anime at some point during E3. And that's the other thing. I'm shocked that they're announcing this game a month after E3. Like, wasn't that the time to announce it?
Maybe they wanted to have more attention. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, like, remember that they kind of had that big Old Republic, like EA had the huge Old Republic trailer.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I guess they wanted to push that. And imagine if, Dragon Age 2 was announced then, Old Republic, considering, depending on your opinion on how it showed at E3, I thought it was kind of a little bit of a letdown as far as just, the MMO side really showing its teeth. If Dragon Age 2 was announced as well, I would, have completely just glossed over the Old Republic at E3.
Yeah. Well, you still have to play Dragon Age, Zach.
True.
So.
I mean, I've enjoyed what I've played so far, and but and then I guess the last thing to talk about in regards to Dragon Age is the combat, and so what we have as fact, quote unquote, right now is refined and responsive and dynamic.
And that all sounds good to me.
That sounds good, but I'm worried that they're gonna go like Mass Effect 1 to Mass Effect 2 and take out, like the RPG, not all of it, but like and especially if the rumors are true that they're gonna, like maintain the PC side of the combat while they revamp the console side. I am interested to see, like Dragon Age 2, the action role-playing game, but
I don't think the PC side's going to change. I think the PC game is going to remain very much what it is. My biggest problems with Dragon Age were the combat. I thought it was very unresponsive. I didn't think the tactics menus worked very well, and I was oftentimes very frustrated with the balance. I mean, this gets back to difficulty again. I was very, very frustrated with the balance in Dragon Age, like battles that were just absurdly difficult. The fact that the mages were completely overpowered in that game. Like they could just obliterate a whole room, and meanwhile the warriors and rogues really weren't any match for them. So
yeah,
I want to see Dragon Age just refine that combat, because I think the shell of it's very good, but it needs a lot of refinement. But when they talk about more responsive things, I mean, they might make the console games play more like action games, which I think is kind of silly considering that you can plug a mouse and keyboard into the PlayStation 3 and you could just play Dragon Age the way it's meant to be played with a goddamn hotbar So
I was unaware.
Yeah, you can play mouse and keyboard on PS3. Just
That's cool.
Does the game
keyboards on the consoles? I didn't know about the mouse.
Yeah, you can use both. Now, Dragon Age Origins doesn't let you use that, but I'm sitting here going, why not? Like, why can't I do that with Dragon Age? Why can't I use mouse and keyboard? So everything I hear about Dragon Age is right now pure speculation. I like what I'm hearing. I'm very, very excited to see a Dragon Age 2, but we have all just got to back up. The first trailer comes out August 17th.
Yep.
And we all know that's just going to be a CG trailer, so that's not going to show anything.
It's Gamescom. On the same day as the E3 press conference at Gamescom.
Yeah. I would be shocked if it was more than a CG trailer. Like, if we actually saw gameplay. I think we're only going to see CG. It's going to look great. We're all going to get excited, but Dragon Age 2, long way off. We got to end the show, guys. So, last words on Dragon Age 2. Go.
Yay.
Intriguing.
Very intriguing. Very intriguing. Derek?
Not a lot of opinion. I've barely even played the first one. So, the refinements sound great, and I actually think that having like a more structured narrative and a defined hero sounds like something that I'd be more interested in, so it kind of makes me want to play through the first one.
All right, and I'm guessing Dennis is probably playing Dragon Quest IX, so we're going to leave him.
Yeah. I'm pretty much in the same boat as Derek in what he said.
Yeah, I would definitely say to the listeners, Dragon Age is a fantastic game. You know, it does have some issues, but overall, great game. Definitely worth playing it. I'm playing through the Awakening expansion right now, and I'm playing that for review, so I'll have that to talk about next week. Now, unless anybody has anything else to say, I think we need to get out of here as quickly as possible.
All I have to say is I think Dragon Age is a great throwback to Baldur's Gate, and if you liked Baldur's Gate, Dragon Age has quite a bit going for it.
Definitely agree. So, for the whole crew, I think we're going to wrap this show up. I'm going to give Steven the opportunity to do something silly to take us out.
You can't put me on the spot like that.
Too late. I already did, but
I can do a strong bad impression.
No. Do the song. Do the song. Come on.
No.
Come on.
No,
do
I
it.
won't.
No, do
I
it.
won't do it. I won't do it. I want to hear the strong bad impression.
Do it.
Do it.
Which is it?
Quick, I need to go to YouTube and look up the song. No.
Do the song. Do the song.
I can't do it. I'm sorry. I'm on the spot. Maybe next week.
All right, Derek, take us out.
All right, guys. Thanks for listening to the RPG Fan Podcast, and thanks for being a pretty cool guy.
For the last time, it's called Random Encounter. I hate all of you.